Hello and welcome to Not Without My Sister. I'm Rosemary McCabe and I'm joined by my sister Beatrice McCabe. And today we thought we would talk about jealousy. Beatrice, what things make you jealous of me specifically?
I'm jealous of how slowly you can drink your tea because then it lasts for a very long time. And I actually suspect you still have a lot of tea there and I have none. And in the break between these two episodes, I was hoping to make myself a cup of tea. So I'm jealous because you didn't give me a chance. You went straight into recording. So I'm jealous that you were drinking tea while I'm parched over here.
Do you want the end of my cold tea? You can have it.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
So I'm jealous of your generosity. You're a very generous person. You're always happy to jump in the car and drive people back and forth. I'm jealous of your willingness to do that because I feel unwilling to do that half the time. And I'm always like, oh God, do I have to?
I feel like you're very generous with your time and your driving, but I also just feel like you're quite busy and tired a lot of the time.
Thanks,
I don't think
Rosemary.
it's like unwillingness to help. I'm jealous of my husband going off home now to have a relax.
Did he take Atlas with him? Or is
Presume he
Atlas
did,
still
yeah,
here?
because the car seat's in the truck, so he better have.
Oh, I bet you Atlas is still here.
Atlas better be gone.
Be gone, Atlas. Out damn spot.
Listen, I'm jealous of Atlas who has the best life.
Oh yeah, I'm jealous of my kids. I'm jealous.
Literally gets up in the morning, gets given like bite-sized pieces of food all day long, gets sat in front of his favourite shows.
Amazing. Gets complimented and like
non-stop. And flattering pictures taken of him. That's what I'm actually jealous of my husband because he gets me taking nice photos of him.
yeah. I'm jealous of men. And I would say all men.
I mean, I'm absolutely jealous of men as well.
Yeah, I'm jealous of
love
men.
a
I'm
Willy.
definitely jealous. Actually, I'm so jealous of men. I was reading
You missed that. I just said I'd love a Willy.
God. I'm not jealous of that, but I mean, I suppose it's part and parcel of the whole being a man thing. Oh no, I mean,
You were reading?
oh yeah, I was reading an article in the Guardian. Who's the woman who Rebecca Solnit, is that her name? The one who came up
Rebecca
with
Solnit, yeah.
Solnit, the one
Men
who came,
explain things to me.
Yes. Well, she had an updated article on her evolving thoughts around mansplaining, etc. And I was like, God, it must be great to be a man. Like you are so believed. There's so much. Even at the dinner table the other night, I said I was sitting like half a foot away from Dad, and I said, blah, 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 this is purple. And 3 minutes later, he turns around and he goes, blah, 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 this is purple. And I just said that. You did? I'm like, I said it into your ear. Did you think that was your own thought?
He honestly must have.
He must have, but that's what it's like to be a man.
Oh, that's not really what I thought this episode was going to be about, but we could literally talk about that for the entire thing. That is what it's like to be a man.
Well, not all men. Like honestly, like it's what it's like to be a powerful man
Stop
or a
saying
man in
not
charge.
all
No,
men.
I didn't say hashtag. I genuinely mean
It is all men.
No, it isn't. It's not all it's not all men of color. You know, it's
No,
not all
no.
like
all cis white straight
all
men.
senior level executive white men.
Well, Brandon isn't a senior level executive white man. He is a white man.
Oh.
And I feel like
Brandon's just a special case. Special.
he says things with such authority. And literally, I will tell him something. It really infuriates me. I'll go like, oh, you can use greaseproof paper for that. And he'll go, And then he'll look it up and he'll go, you can. And I'm like, once again, man-firming what I've just told you. Why do you never believe me? And he's like, I just wanted to double check. I'm like, what? Why? Why? You say things to me and I just go, oh, Brandon must know that. I mean, sometimes.
No, you don't. He says things to both of us and we both go, Google it
behind his
Rosemary.
back. I know.
Then
just
we Google
rolling.
it immediately.
I know, but that's such,
But Rosemary, that's valid because most of what he says is made up. As
says
part
it with
of
such great manly
Yes,
authority.
he does.
I'm jealous of his
it's
manly
the other
authority.
it's the other side of like he doubts us and then he spouts off half-baked guesses as facts. I mean, not just be picking on Brandon, but for example, Brandon comes from a long, long line of exterminators, right? So I would expect him to be an insect expert, right? So
An insect-spert.
An insect-spert, exactly. And on multiple occasions, I have sent you images of gross little insects. And said, can you ask Brandon what this is? And he always writes back like, you always write back, oh, it's this, or he doesn't know. He says you should Google it, which is unhelpful.
Well, sorry, just to clarify, Brandon would never say I don't know. He said I don't know to something last week and I honestly nearly fell over with shock. I think that's the first time I've ever heard him say that. Because he will always say, it's probably a this.
Yes.
And then you'll do some Googling and you're like, it's absolutely not that. It's not even related to that. It's a spider or something.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He will just come up with like, well, it's probably a XYZ. And it would be so much more useful to me if he just said, I don't know. And then I could text his mom, the actual exterminator.
Yeah.
And ask her, and she'd be helpful.
I should actually text. That's a good point. I should text her now that she's almost my mother-in-law. That's why it's speculation. They're excellent speculators, right?
They are, yeah.
And I feel like when we speculate, it's called gossip.
That's actually very true too. But it's because we're conditioned to second guess ourselves in a way that men are conditioned to just think that what they say, to just have authority, to be authoritative.
Yeah, and do you know what I also appreciate about Brandon is that when he's wrong and I prove he's wrong by showing him something like online, he honestly looks shocked that he was wrong.
He looks shocked, and then he'll go, I mean, I thought it was this. And I'm like, what you need to say is, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. He'll go, well, I thought it was X, Y, like in a real bullshit.
But even though he was guessing, it's actually amazing.
Beatrice, but like there is no guessing. He doesn't believe he's guessing. If you said to him, you're guessing, he'd be like, no, I'm telling you. That's what I think it is. I'm like, that's a guess. You're guessing.
Yeah, you're speculating. You're gossiping.
Anyway, sorry. This was all...
Okay, so jealous. So I'm jealous of his confidence.
No. I was just going to say, this was spurred on by a listener who asked us, what are your thoughts on jealousy if you're jealous of friends or family and their achievements?
Oh, I wouldn't say I've ever really been jealous.
Oh my God, for a second I thought you were serious and I was like, what bitch.
No, I'm more jealous of... I mean, I try not to be jealous because I've been told it's an ugly emotion.
By whom? A man?
No, by mom.
Oh, Mom has long been trying to shame me for my very natural, innate, high levels of jealousy. And let me tell you, she's not succeeded. She's been going on my whole life, but you're always very jealous. You know, my friend Beep was always very jealous too. And I just never got it. You are what you are and you have what you have. And other people are what they are and they have what they have. She was always very jealous.
She'll say, what's the point? What's the point? They have what they have and you have. What's the point? What's the point of being jealous? Is it going to change anything? I'm like, no, but it's going to like provide me a modicum of... I don't even know what, a modicum of satisfaction.
Well, so you know what? I used to be of the belief that jealousy could be very motivating for me personally. You know what I mean? If I saw somebody in a similar field to me doing something that I really wanted to do and I was jealous of them, I was under the impression, or I kind of fooled myself into thinking that this would help me work harder, do better, because I'd be like, if they can do it, I can do it, right? I'm not the if they can do it, I can do it person. I'm the how the fuck can they do that person? You know what I mean? Like, I don't actually find it motivating. It has never served to motivate me. What it does is make me bitter and unhappy.
Okay, well, what's the difference between jealousy and envy, in your opinion?
So I think jealousy is when you want something somebody else has and you begrudge them it.
Is it that I want it or I just begrudge them it? I think it's just that I begrudge them it.
I think jealousy is kind of something you would like for yourself, though. I think it has to be. Otherwise, it's like...
I think, well, in my case, I think jealousy is something that I think I deserve more. But in most cases, I haven't actually done the work.
Oh, the work to get it. Same.
Or I've done the work, but I haven't. It's usually more in my case about risk taking. I haven't taken the risk to start my own company, to change careers, to, in Dad's case, you know, Dad always talks about how he had this great idea. Dad's like the least jealous person, honestly, ever, right? He had this great idea to start the buy and sell, didn't start the buy and sell, then somebody else started it and like did a great job. And Dad's like, should have done that. Now that's me, but I'd be fuming jealous that I hadn't done it. And this person was off like rollicking in their cash.
Similarly, I said to a friend of mine recently, oh my God, did you see that person got a book deal? I'm so jealous. They got a book deal with this publishing house. And my friend said to me, well, you know, you have to write the book first, Rosemary. Because I just keep thinking somebody's going to come along and give me a book deal and then I'll write the book. You know what I mean? I'm like, I actually need to write the book and then pitch it places.
Well, actually, I read in that magazine that I subscribed you to that is delivered to my house because I couldn't figure out how to do it otherwise. This one wrote, I think it's actually, there's a lot of poetry in it, so semi-applicable. But she got a book deal anyway, and she said she submitted her manuscript to 33 publishing houses. And 3 times she submitted it to the person who ended up publishing it. So I kind of thought that was interesting.
That's very interesting. Because I definitely... Do you remember the time that I sent part of my work to an agent and I got a very scathing response? I've never sent anything to another agent ever again.
Yeah. But that was unusual, I think. Like, it wasn't constructive. It seemed very critical. And that's not my idea of like an appropriate response. Because I do remember being very taken aback. Like, it seemed very personal. And it seemed like a real... slap on the wrist of like, here's why you're not good versus, you know, that's not a good fit for us. And I think you have like, what's the point in just saying, no, you're not as good as somebody else? Good.
I must actually find that and I'll put it on the Patreon. behind the paywall, because I don't want to put it out publicly because it's somebody else's email, but I'll put it on Patreon. You can sign up patreon.com/notwithoutmysister, and you can read all the scathing words that were told to me about my piece of work.
It was just odd because, like, I think in any of those situations, like, you want to do better. You obviously want to be published / listened to / whatever, right? But you don't want to be told, like, here's why I didn't hire you, you're crap. You want to be told, like, here's what you should do in order for me to hire you.
Yeah, and by that same token, I think if I was a literary agent, I would want people to be producing good work. I wouldn't want to be like, no, you haven't got what it takes, don't bother. Do you know what I mean? I just don't see the point of that.
Also, I would imagine that if you're a literary agent, you understand that, like, what you believe to be good or not good is personal to you and subjective to your house or in your, like, publishing company, and that otherwise anybody would get a first refusal and never submit it to anybody else again, and never be published by anybody else.
And also, all the agents would only want to publish all the same books. So like 50 Shades of Grey would never get published, and that might not be such a bad thing. But I think the difference between jealousy and envy is that I feel like envy is like, I'd love that too. Mm-hmm. And jealousy is like, I'd love that instead of you.
But I don't think it's that I don't want you to have it because I want to have it. In my case, jealousy is more like, I don't want you to have it because you don't deserve it. Not even because I should have it, but just you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's an ugly emotion. And yet, I have to say, when I think of the handful of people that I have in my life been jealous of, no, not anymore. I don't waste that energy. Don't expend that negative energy. I've removed all toxicity from my life, blah, blah. I think that I was correct. That these individuals did not get ahead on talent or skill. They got ahead on salesmanship and cutthroatness, but at the same time, very often that's what it takes. It's not so much that I couldn't do it, it's more that I wouldn't do it, and that's what annoys me, because I go like, you didn't get there from skill or hard work, you got there from sheer nastiness, but like, isn't that the world, and I should just get over it, and accept it.
Which is fucking depressing.
But it doesn't mean like you can't do both. Can't there be both, in the world?
Yeah, true. But I do think when space is taken up in certain industries by people who do not have the talent or skills, but who have just kind of got in by knowing somebody, or been like a spoofer, it does take away space for the other people who are really good at it. Do you know what I mean? That like the more people in certain places that are not good, the fewer really good people are going to get in. You know what I mean? But I know that's life, but I find it frustrating.
So do you find, like, I would say that when I'm jealous of somebody, it's not necessarily a rewarding feeling. I mean, and I do indulge in it sometimes, and I have a bit of time where I would like spend scrolling through this person's Instagram or LinkedIn, and then I go, this is actually just pissing me off. And then I have to, so I don't do
unproductive,
it anymore.
right?
Yeah, I don't do it anymore.
That was why a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I unfollowed a massive swathe of people on Instagram, most of whom were fellow kind of influencers or Instagrammers or journalists. Because I just felt like every time I saw them celebrating their wins, and I think people should celebrate their wins, like not to be, that's a very cliched expression, but you know what I mean? Like, I think it's great if you get a book deal, or if you publish a new article, or if you get a new hairdo, or if you suddenly do something that you've been trying to do, great, celebrate it, share it. But it was making me feel shit because I was angry at them. And then I was like, what kind of dick am I that I'm angry about that? You know what I mean? That I'm feeling this jealousy. It made me feel like I was like, I'm being a shitty person. So I stopped following a lot of people whose Instagrams would have that affected me, or I suppose to go back to like, I'm in control of my reactions, to whom I would have that reaction. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, I need to try and find a way of not allowing myself to indulge in this jealousy that does nothing but make me feel bad about myself.
So the question was more about friends, family, etc. These are definitely people who we wouldn't be close to per se, or have personal relationships with. Do you feel jealous of people closer to home?
You know what? I don't anymore. But definitely while I was in school, there was one friend of mine who we had been really, really close. And then we kind of grew apart, and she fell in with kind of a like quote unquote cool crowd in school. And I was so jealous of her for years. I was jealous of her because she was thinner than me. I was jealous of her because she was better looking than me. I was jealous of her because she hung out with these cool people and I didn't. And she had a cool job and I didn't, and all this. And it made me honestly a really shitty friend. Like, I just was always trying to tear her down, even if I wasn't conscious of it at the time. In hindsight now, like at the time I used to do things like, I remember at one stage I made my ringtone for her Heidi Montag's song Superficial, and I told her about it, and I was like, ring me there and you'll see the, and you had like ringtones for everybody, and I had different ringtones for each of my friends, and this was her one. I was like, so funny. But like, she wasn't the superficial one, you know what I mean? I was the superficial one because I was obsessed with how she looked, and I was obsessed with the clothes she wore, and I was obsessed with all these things that like, I don't think, I mean, I'm sure were important to her in the way that we were teenagers and they were important to everyone. But like, I was projecting onto her. Do you know what I mean? And I was such a dick. And like, I was like, this is really funny. Like, oh, you can't take a joke. So awful. But I do think that jealousy, if you're truly jealous of a friend or a family member, it makes it really hard to be a good friend to them because you're not wishing them well and you're not happy for them in their wins because your jealousy is overriding all that. So I do think that if there's a situation now where I'm very jealous of a friend or a family member, I think I try really hard to take a step back and kind of, I don't know, find a way to get over it, whether it's kind of try and go through my feelings of like, what exactly am I jealous of? What can I change in my life to make myself happier or more content in this sphere that I feel like they're doing, you know, objectively better than me at? Because I just don't feel like when you're overcome with jealousy, I mean, similarly to me scrolling through my Instagram, like it's really hard to feel like you're a good person or a good friend or a good sister if your main feelings are jealousy.
That was very vulnerable, Rosemary. I felt very bad for you.
We should have felt bad for my friend.
I felt bad for her too, but I felt bad for her for years. No, I'm only joking. That's very self-aware of you, and I feel bad for you now. That was nice. But I feel like maybe you're not as jealous. I think maybe now just even reserving jealousy for people who aren't as close is also just part of growing up, is it? I mean, any 15-year-old listening is probably like, no, you two are shallow bitches and like, it's just you two. But doesn't one of your favourite writers, Roxane Gay, revel in her own jealousy of certain people, but she reserves that kind of feeling just for like a select few, and she acknowledges it, and
I don't know that she calls it jealousy. So she talks about how having enemies keeps her very motivated. She has people who, for whatever reason, she has taken against, or they've had, you know, an altercation or something, and she's like, they're my enemy.
Her arch nemesis, is that not it?
Her nemesis, yeah.
Yeah, her nemesis.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's how I used to refer to people that I was jealous of, like in a professional capacity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say these weren't people that I worked with, or like these were distant horizon people that I was like, they're there, but for the grace of God. No, and that's the wrong expression. I was more like, oh, look, here come my Walmart tubs. Yes. For more Lego sorting.
I'm so jealous.
Yes. I can't wait. I'm so happy. You see how much grey I have? I was surprised. I didn't think that there would be so much
I thought
grey.
you meant in your hair. That's good, wasn't it?
Absolute bitch. But how does she use these arch nemesis, and does that not work for you?
I think she basically would be like, oh, like one of my nemesis succeeding again, I have to work harder kind of thing. Whereas like when I am jealous of someone and I see somebody, I just go into like a flailing sense of what's the point of this person? You know, I'm never going to get what this person has. I'm like throwing myself on the bed and like drinking Diet Cokes and crying. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, it doesn't motivate me to be productive or anything positive really.
I don't know if it's having mom here or not, but like, or just also being now 44 years old, thinking that's half of 88, and like, am I at the midpoint of my life or not? But I know, hopefully not. Hopefully like to live to 110.
That's actually quite positive and motivating to me, because I've been thinking about 38 as like towards the end point of my life. But you're right, it's not even halfway.
End point of your life? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm really struggling with my most recent birthday, Beatrice.
Oh, that's funny because, not funny, haha, but that's funny because like once I turned 34, I was in a massive depression. 34 until about 36. And then 40, I hated turning 40. Everybody else was like, yay, I'm 40, best decade ever. I was like, fuck this. I feel like everybody who turns 40 is just like, they have kids, they're like not looking after themselves. It's that like period when mom and all her friends like looked at their least trendy and then kind of perked up again, you know, 5 years later. I was like, oh, I'm such a hick. But anyway.
You're not a hick.
Thanks, Rosemary.
I've often been jealous of your dress sense and your ability
Rose.
to wear heels and walk in them.
Thanks, Rosemary. Well, anyway, age 44, I now feel okay again. I'm like, well, I'm on the earlier side of 40, but then soon I'll be 46 and depressed again. But like, also, whatever. It is what it is, right? It's grand. I wish I could just like get rid of these jowls.
Okay.
But these wrinkles are on the top of my lips. And then I read yesterday, filler is a disaster. So I was like, oh, guess I better just look after this face and get on with it. Anyway, all of this to say that like, does it matter? This idea of getting stuff and accumulating success, like, doesn't really matter, right? Because like, you know, I know this is not a profound thought, but we do strive. But are we striving genuinely for all the wrong things? Like, isn't it best to have like all this research shows that the most important thing is having connections, having friendships. You don't look very happy right now, but like these conversations that we're having are like what keep things fun and important in your life, like family and friends. And it's really, that's, you work to live. You publish a book to feel a sense of self-achievement. It's not to show the world I published a book. It's to write a good book.
No,
and share it with other people.
I'm publishing my book so that other girls, other women But particularly, I think girls in their teens and 20s can read it and go, never let myself be treated the way this guy treated Rosemary. That's what I want.
You know what? Also, there's an element there of like when you said you went into personal training to share the feeling that it gave you. Like this is to warn. Like there's a certain aspect of sharing here,
and a selfless sharer.
Yes, I see this in you, Rosemary.
Well, that's actually always, you know what? Even I remember when I first started therapy and I was really struggling with, I think I'd started doing kind of TV and radio stuff and I was like, oh, I just don't know if I like doing this and I don't know. And my therapist said to me, when do you feel as though you're doing meaningful work? And it was when I wrote something that people connected with, so that people either, got back to me and went, oh, that really made me think of X, or that really helped me put a perspective on X, Y, Z. Or if I interviewed somebody, I remember interviewing this one guy who had taken up acting just as a hobby. Like had taken up acting, had gone to the Gaiety School of Acting and done a part-time course. And he was like working in the civil service, doing something very officey, 9 to 5, not acting-y. And I remember him talking about how it had really helped him come out of his shell. He was very introverted before and it really helped him, connect with people. And he had friends now from his acting course. And I remember just interviewing him and being like, that's the kind of journalism when you're just talking to people and finding out, I don't know, like opening a window into someone's life and then providing a seat from which other people can look in that window too. Do you know what I mean? That was what felt meaningful to me. So yes, I am a sharer.
Well, also his story is interesting too, as an example, that like doing something not for the glory at the end, but for
for the sake of it.
But for the act of doing it as well, for the enjoyment of the process. I think very often it's like, I want to get this book written. I'm using books as an example, right? But I want to get this book written so that I can get it published versus I want to write a book because I love writing.
You know what? That is something I think when you work as well in any kind of career where you're doing what you love or you're doing your hobby, you know what I mean? That you've turned into a career. So with you, it's art and with me, it's writing. I definitely had a few years where I was like, I don't enjoy writing anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't ever do it for myself. Whereas I think actually that's kind of the freedom that writing the newsletter has allowed me, in that I get to write what I want to write when I want to write it. Whereas when I was working as a full-time journalist and you'd go, okay, you have 5 pieces to write this week and they need to be on this topic and this topic and this topic and you're interviewing this person, you didn't get a choice.
That's why you don't like when I give you my topic suggestions.
Oh yeah. I don't like an assignment. What you need to start doing is working really hard at like planting a little seed. Being like, oh, have you seen this article? And then hand it to me and then go, you know what and just like start. Okay. So you need to work much harder to help me with my work.
Okay, I'll do that. You know what I did realize now that I don't have a job and I am at home at 2.5 weeks is that you're very patient, because everybody has been sending me ideas of what I should be doing in my spare time, in my newly found spare time. And I'm thinking to myself, as soon as I have a minute, I plan to relax.
Sorry.
I plan to read some books and relax. No, not just you. You have said to me that I need to relax.
But on the topic of me, I send you things. These aren't things that I'm like, you could do this in your spare time. These are things that I'm like, here's some work you could do for the podcast. And have you done them?
Oh, no, but work. You're sending me work. Dawn is sending me work. Dad was telling me I should become a professional artist.
I'm sending you work to do for your only job now. You're not unemployed. This is your employment.
Oh, I know. I meant I meant otherwise unemployed. You're right. I need to work harder on this. You're right. You're right. Well, we're going to do some extra episodes, right? We're going to
yes.
We're going to add in a monthly TV review. Anything we're watching, what we're watching. Yes. Scan on, we're going to call it.
Yeah, and ideally, we're hoping to make those things that can be watched in Ireland, because one of the first things that we thought was to do Will Trent, but it's not available in Ireland yet.
It's good too.
It is good. It's on Hulu.
Well, we're going to watch Last of Us. Is that available in Ireland?
That is available in Ireland.
We're going to watch that.
It's on Now TV.
Yeah, we could do Firefly Lane. Is that available in Ireland? Because
that's on Netflix. We could do that.
Cracker, I say.
Firefly Lane's actually great for the hair and makeup as well.
Oh my God, excellent.
There's lots to look at in that show.
Excellent.
The teeth. What about the teeth?
Massive gnashers on them all.
Oh yeah, but that's not. Sorry, I was thinking more about the like period costume from the 70s.
Period. Like
the period
looking wigs.
Oh, listen, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Save it for the review.
Okay. Yeah. So we are going to start doing some film reviews, and we'll start answering your questions. If you have any, please send them to us on Instagram.
If you have any topic suggestions, send them to us. We also are going to do a what we're reading, and it's not going to be a book club. This is not here is a book we have mutually read. We're going to talk about what we have most recently been reading. And let me tell you, I am reading Neilson DeMille, The Cuban Affair, and I have been reading segments out to Papa, who very scornfully, when I said, God, I love Neilson DeMille, I found this on the bookshelf, and I was like, yes, I haven't read this. My own bookshelf. I bought it, obviously, and then never read it. And Dad was like, oh, Nelson DeMille. I'm telling you. And I said, tell me one book that he wrote that you didn't enjoy. I can't. I mean, isn't he the guy? I was like, this is pure Dad. This guy is slightly sexist in terms of like the archetypal hero of his book.
Yes, your dad would love that.
Yeah. He makes jokes like Dad. He's got these desperate dad jokes that Dad would love. He always gets the leg over, as Dad would say now. I'm turning into this Dad. The leg over, like the hottie. This is such Dad lingo here. Oh yeah, no, here's what I actually read for Dad.
He always gets the leg over the hottie. Dad hates when you read excerpts.
No, I read this for Dad. I said, Dad, you would love this. I said, listen to this. This is right up Dad's alley, right? So I was reading, what's this called? The Flyleaf. These recommendations.
Blurbs.
Yeah,
blurbs.
Thanks, Rosemary.
I didn't know what you were pointing at. I can't even see it.
I was like, Dad, listen. I was like, once I finish this, Dad doesn't like it also because it's printed on actual paper. I said, Dad, listen to this blurb now, right? A big, fabulous adventure with twist upon twist. Double crosses. Hold on. Surprising complications. Sexy werewolves, vampires, and a boatload of compelling characters.
I'll read that after you. That sounds right up my street
Rosemary,
as well.
There's not any werewolves or sexy vampires. I added
Did you make that
in
bit up? Oh, for God's
the benefit
sake.
of Dad. Dad
For
goes,
God's sake. I was like, that sounds great.
Dad goes, that does sound good.
Well, I just gave him my Throne of Glass series, which is about vampire. No, not about. Is there vampires in it? Fairies. And it's like sexy fairies and assassins. And
Is there vampires?
sorry, are there vampires? Oh, don't annoy me. I spend half my life correcting those children. How much Legos do we have? How many? How much?
Oh yeah, we got bit. And then Mom and Dad have started being really patronising as well with my kids. I got bit. And Mom goes, bitten. And Dad goes, this is how they speak in America. I'm like, no, it isn't actually. This is how they speak now. They're American. I'm like, no, it isn't. Bitten. You
A lot of them do, though.
No,
That
they
happened.
don't.
I dropped that on accident, Beatrice.
Oh, on accident. That
I
drives
love
me
saying
nuts.
that. Or the other thing, I've probably mentioned this before in the podcast because I'm obsessed with it. When Brandon will go, the dishwasher needs emptied. The grass needs mown.
Now, is that correct?
The dishwasher needs to be emptied,
I
no?
know, but like, is that acceptable?
I mean, not by me.
You're the one with the English degree.
I don't accept it, so no.
I think it probably is. You know, I had to correct a bit of spelling in your book. Did you get that? Did you get that note from me?
Was it the sick?
Yeah.
Had to sick him on her. I don't think I changed that to SICK, but I must double check.
You
I
mean
think
you
that
think
was an
somebody
editor.
else?
I
You
think
think-
somebody. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was.
Well, it could also have been an autocorrect.
yes, that's what I'll say. It was an auto. Jesus, another delivery. Are you not unemployed?
I know, you know,
delivered from Prime now.
The funny part is when I dropped by your house yesterday to drop Mom and Dad off, I was like, FedEx. I said, I'm glad to see FedEx driving by Rosemary's house for a change. And then I was like, I better be quiet because all we see is delivery vans. We're driving. I'm pretty
what's this
sure.
now?
I'm pretty sure these are. You know what? Dad and I have ordered about 27 different packs of screws to fix various broken things around the house, and not one of them has been the correct size screw yet. Oh, these are metric, not imperial. Oh, I ordered the European screws. I'm like, I can't actually cope with this. Just fucking
Beatrice,
fix my
you
stool.
think there's screws in that box? Your man just got out of the truck
Does
with
look
the
a-
biggest box.
does look a
under
bit
his
big.
arm. Thank you all so much for listening to Not Without My Sister. You can get us on Patreon, patreon.com/notwithoutmysister, where for $5 a month, you'll get an extra unheard anywhere else episode each and every Friday. And otherwise, we will see you next week.
And how many episodes do we have up on Patreon now? Over 80, right?
80 something, yeah, I
Yeah.
think.
It's worth it. It's worth
Oh my God, $5
Signing up
and you
there.
get access to the whole back catalogue. I just don't feel like we should publicise that.
That's like
Seems
40
seems too
hours.
cheap
That's a full work week of listening.
for $5.
Yeah.
Maybe we should up the price.
Jesus, goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Not Without My Sister is recorded in studio in Fort Wayne by Don Kirkland, who also wrote our theme tune, and the original illustration is by Lindsay Neilson.